A big political controversy we've been talking about quite a lot this week is the two-child benefit camp. Nigel Farage, the leader of Reform UK, big speech yesterday. He says he wants to scrap it. Luke is in Brighton. You're very welcome to the programme, Luke. What would you like to say about the two-child benefit camp? Do you agree with Nigel Farage?
Well, I'm loath to agree with Nigel Farage, and I think it's very legitimate to question his motives as part of this policy announcement, given his past avowed Thatcherism.
Well, he said fairly consistently, Luke, that he wants to get rid of the two-child benefit cap, but his view is that it's because of the population problem in this country rather than anything else.
No, I appreciate that, but when he was an MEP, as I understand it, he was quite visceral in his criticisms of the Workers' Rights Directive and some of the workers' rights extended to new mothers in terms of maternity pay and other sort of legislation of that kind. So I think, it is legitimate to say that this forms part of his slightly leftwards move on economic policy as part of Reform's attempts, obviously, maximise their electoral appeal amongst Labour voters in sort of traditional, former...
Do you think it'll work, Luke? Do you think it'll work?
Well, I think unless this Labour government, starts delivering to a greater extent than it has done so, then I fear it may well work. And obviously the recent county council elections and the Runcorn by-election were evidence of that. I mean, I wanted to come onto your programme to lament this policy. I think it was one of the most pernicious welfare reforms undertaken by George Osborne. I think it was fundamentally premised on the belief that poverty is a result of personal responsibility and not as a result of system.
I think it was actually Philip Hammond who brought it in, but nonetheless, a lot of people don't like it, and certainly we had John McTernan, the former advisor to Tony Blair, saying on Monday he thought it was immoral. Do you think it's immoral, Luke?
Well, I think John McTernan was spot on. I mean, this idea that someone shouldn't have a third or fourth child, unless they can afford to do so. It admits the role that homelessness, the scourge of low pay, domestic violence, relationship breakdowns, all such factors that can, very adversely affect one's life and in turn, affect one's economic status as a parent. So I think it's, as I say, it's rooted, fundamentally in an ideology, in a premise, about poverty that I just think is flawed.
Okay.
But similarly, I think, it's the job of the welfare state to empower the next generation, to help, redistribute opportunity and wealth more equally amongst children. I mean, if that isn't one of its primary functions, then what is? And obviously, we've seen research from the Child Poverty Action Group that says scrapping it would lift 250,000 children out of poverty, 700,000 out of deep poverty. And similarly, this basis that this policy is about incentivizing work. When over half of the children who are affected, by this policy have parents who are in work.
Yeah,
it's further evidence, in my opinion, of its moral bankruptcy.
But doesn't it say a lot about our society? Just finally, Luke, doesn't say a lot about our society that you can have, up to £80,000 of income in a two-parent family and people still receive benefits. I mean, I don't know what that says, whether that says they shouldn't receive benefits, is 80,000 enough, or to live a good life, or alternatively it says, what does it say about our society if £80,000 a year between two adults isn't enough to afford to provide for and to responsibly bring up two children?
Well, I think generally my opposition to the policy is not based upon those at the higher end of the pay scale, but those at the lower end of the pay scale.
I get that.
And obviously
I get that.
The statistics offered by the Child Poverty Action Group are testament to that. But similarly, just one last point, if it's okay to make, Peter.
Go for it, Luke.
This idea that parents should take on additional work in order to mitigate its consequence. I mean, again, that admits the role that ill health, parents of children with special needs, all the cost of childcare, all of these things adversely affect parents' ability to take on that additional work. So, as I say, I just think fundamentally that the policy's premise is flawed, and I thank you for having me on.
No worries, thank you, Luke. Great to talk to you.